सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। गोविन्द माधवा गोपाल केशवा गोविन्द माधवा गोपाल केशवा जय नन्द मुकुन्द नन्द गोविन्द राधे गोपाल जय नन्द मुकुन्द नन्द गोविन्द राधे गोपाल गोविन्द माधवा गोपाल केशवा गिरिधारी गिरिधारी जय राधे गोपाल गिरिधारी गिरिधारी जय राधे गोपाल घनश्याम श्याम श्याम जय जय राधे गोपाल घनश्याम श्याम श्याम जय जय राधे गोपाल गोविन्द माधवा गोपाल केशवा गोपाल केशवा। अमानित्वमदम्भित्वम् अहिंसा क्षान्तिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहङ्कार एव च जन्म मृत्युजरा व्याधि दुःखदोषानुदर्शनम्। Prostrations to one and all. In the last class, we had seen Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshanudarshanam. Anudarshanam, constantly seeing what? Dukkha Dosham, the defect of sorrows. Where? In Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. Constantly seeing the pains of life, the impermanent realities of life. Bhagavan says, Anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasva mam. Worship me alone. This world is anityam and asukham, full of pain, full of suffering, and everything is impermanent. Paying attention to this, hold on to me alone. This is the message of Bhagavad Gita. Now moving on, the next verse. Asaktiranabhishvangah putradara grihadisho nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu. Asaktihi anabhishvangah samachittatvam. These are the three values mentioned in this verse. So this is the 13th one, asaktihi. So what is asakti means? What does it mean? So Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, Saktihi sanga nimitteshu vishayeshu priti matram tat abhavaha asaktihi. So what is sakti? So Bhagavan says, sanga nimitteshu vishayeshu priti matram. So whenever we are exposed to, whenever we come in contact with favorable things, beings and situations, what happens? A liking is developed. A liking is developed towards everything, every being, every situation which is according to our taste, which is according to our inclinations. So this liking is called sakti. Sakti. So asakti means what? Absence of this liking. Now we will take the next one also along with sakti. The next one is anabhishvangah. What is anabhishvangah? So what is abhishvanga? So Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, abhishvangah nama sakti visheshaha. So what is abhishvanga? Intense liking is called abhishvanga, sakti vishesha. So sakti means liking, abhishvanga means intense liking. Bhagavan, please tell us how to demarcate between liking and intense liking. So here Bhagavan gives a lakshana. Lakshana means characteristics. How do we know that the liking has become intense? How do we know? So Bhagavan says, ananyatma bhavana lakshanaha. So when the liking becomes intense, what happens? Ananyatma bhavana happens. What is ananyatma bhavana? Total identification. When you become totally identified with that thing, being or situation, then that is called as abhishvanga, intense liking, intense attachment. Bhagavan, please can you explain what is the meaning total identification? What do you mean by that? So here Bhagavan describes that yatha anyasmin sukhini dukhini va ahameva sukhi dukhi cha. So what is identification? When the other person is happy, I am happy, sukhini. When the other person is miserable, I am miserable, dukhini. So whatever happens there, happens here. Then understand there is identification. Greater the attachment, greater will be the identification. Jivati mriteva ahameva jivami marishyami cha iti. So when that person is alive, I feel I am alive. When that person is dead, I feel I am dead. Total identification. Greater the attachment, greater will be the identification. So this is called as abhishvanga. Absence of this is called anabhishvanga. So since this sakti and abhishvanga, they are related, we will take these two together. So sakti means mere liking, but when that liking becomes intense attachment, then that sakti is called abhishvanga. What is the characteristics of intense attachment? There is total identification. How do I know that there is total identification? When that person is miserable, I am miserable. When that person is happy, I am happy. So this is total identification. Very many times in the society also we see husband is 95 years old, wife is around 90 years old. Husband passes away and within few minutes or within few hours the wife also passes away. The identification is so much. Without that person, I can't even think of existing. I have no existence other than that person. When that happens, all these things happen. Especially in the case of a mother, we see it very clearly. When the child is happy, mother is happy. When the child is sick, mother is sick. When the child is miserable, mother is miserable. So this is total identification. Now naturally a question may come. In fact, even people get identified with their dog also. In one house there was this dog. So I asked him, where is your dog? Then he said, Swamiji, don't call it dog, it is my son. So I have to tell, where is your son? Then he would be happy. You can have identification with anything, need not necessarily with a person. Right. Now a question may come, Swamiji, what is wrong with attachment? In fact, relationship is nothing but love, greater the relationship. So what is wrong? Especially because here it is said, Anabhishwangaha putradara grihadishu. What is this abhishwanga? Total attachment with putra, son or daughter, dara, wife or husband, griha adishu or house. So near and dear ones, this attachment mainly happens with near and dear ones like children, wife, husband, house, etc. So now a question may come, what is wrong with this kind of attachment? What is wrong with intensely loving one's own wife, one's own husband, one's own children, etc.? What is wrong? Sometimes this attachment is called blinding attachment. It makes you blind. So for this answer, for this question, the answer is, what happens when you get totally attached? What happens when we get totally attached to our near and dear ones? What happens is, this attachment paralyzes our intellect, our ability to think. This is what happens. What happens in paralysis? When my hand is paralyzed, though the hand is with me, I will not be able to operate my hand. Though the legs are with me, I will not be able to walk, operate my legs. So that particular limb which is paralyzed, it cannot be used. So what does this attachment do? Attachment paralyzes the very thinking ability. So I am not able to think. This is what attachment does. So greater the attachment, greater my inability to think, my inability to discriminate, my inability to decide what is right and what is wrong. So attachment makes me incapable of decision making, of thinking, of discriminating. The best example is Dhritarashtra. The whole war happened only because of Dhritarashtra's intense attachment for his son Duryodhana. How many thousands were killed? How many thousands of women became widows? How many children became orphans? All because of this blind attachment of Dhritarashtra towards his son. And the end result of blind attachment is always misery for oneself. Look how much miserable Dhritarashtra became. Even when he was alive, all his sons, 100 sons were killed. How much misery it was. He was so miserable that when he was supposed to hug Bhima, Bhagavan Krishna, instead of keeping Bhima in front, he kept an iron statue in front of Dhritarashtra. Just imagine the amount of misery and bitter feeling. Dhritarashtra embraced that iron statue, and when he remembered that it is this fellow who killed all my 100 sons, he crushed that iron statue into powder. Just imagine that the amount of bitter feeling he had. That bitter feeling came because of his attachment, intense attachment. So when I am intensely attached to someone, I bring misery to myself and to everyone around. This is what happens. In Bal Vihar competition, always is a scene. Once the judges have given their decisions, always you will find some or the other mother coming with her child and fighting with the judges that my child chanted very well, you are partial, you did not give prize to my child. Because as Pujya Gurudev used to say, when love becomes thick, fault becomes thin. You love your child so much that you don't see defects in your child, and you think your child has chanted the best. Very many times you find during Bal Vihar competitions, mothers coming and fighting with the judges. These are all the examples of Abhishwanga. One brigadier was telling, I can command the entire army, but I am helpless in front of my own son. I can't control him. I can't discipline him. I am helpless. What is that helplessness? That is called as Abhishwanga, intense attachment. Recently, our Indian cricket captain Virat Kohli was criticized. Indian cricket team had gone to Australia for playing 4 tests, and the first test itself they were bitterly defeated, badly defeated, to such an extent that the entire team was out for 36 all out, and India lost badly. Virat Kohli, who was the Indian captain, after that he leaves to his own country. Why? To celebrate the birth of his first child. Now just imagine, he is supposed to be the captain of the Indian cricket team. This was the time when he was badly needed for the nation to play his game. This was the time when the team badly needed him. And what did he do? He leaves the team in order to attend a family function, to be with his wife and the newborn baby. Now the question is, what he did, the decision which he had taken, is it right or wrong? From the angle of Dharma Shastra, it is absolutely wrong, because compared to my family, the nation comes first. My duties and responsibilities towards my nation comes first. Just imagine an army officer who is waging the battle at the borders. Suppose he gets this news that he has become a father of a newborn baby. What is he supposed to do? In the battlefield, is it right on his part to allow his soldiers to fight and he coming back to his family to celebrate the occasion? Will you call it right? It is absolutely wrong. People who are in the responsible pause, in the responsible position, they have a great responsibility of setting right examples for the upcoming generation. As Bhagavan says, Yad yad acharati sreshtah tat tat eva itarah janah sayat pramanam kurute lokah tat anuvartate. people who are role models in the society, they have a very big responsibility of setting right examples. They should not do something which will mislead the generation, Bhagavad Gita says. So his stand was criticized. Here is a team which is struggling to win, and here is this captain who is known to be the best batsman, he going to celebrate his family function. But this test series will be one of the most remarkable series for India, because you will be amazed. Very many cricket pundits, they said this team is not going to win. It will be a 4-0 sweep. Even the die-hard cricket fans also said India is not going to win. But amazingly, you will find India defeated Australia 2-1 in this test series. Against all odds, especially the last test. Almost 7 best players of Indian cricket team, they were not there. And they were constantly abused by the Australians through sledging, through racial remarks, through bodyline bowling. And the whole game is happening in Australia, in their home ground, against all odds. These youngsters who were inexperienced, this inexperienced bunch of youngsters, they defeated the first-class Australian cricket team in their own home ground, where they had never tasted defeat. In such a ground, these youngsters defeated them. I was reminded of the famous verse, Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yad kripa tamaham vande paramananda vadhavam. Bhagavan, by your grace, even the dumb becomes a great orator. A lame person, he is able to climb the Everest. That is the power of your grace. And that was clearly seen here. The point is, people who are holding the responsible position, they must always be aware of the greater responsibility they have towards one's own nation. I must have told you the story of the former chief of the army, General Cariappa. He was retired, and at that time Indo-Pak war was going on. His own son was a fighter pilot. His jet was shot down by the Pakistani army. He was caught alive. The general of the Pakistani army, he calls General Cariappa and says, "Sir, your son has been caught. If you put a word, I will release him." What did the general say? Cariappa said, "He is not the only son of mine. Every Indian soldier is my son. So give him the same treatment which you would give to any other Indian soldier." Now see this. This is a classic example of Anabhishwanga. Not allowing my discrimination to get polluted because of my attachment to my family members. This is called Anabhishwanga. It's a great quality. Recently we also had this issue of nepotism. The famous film star Sushant Singh Rajput, he committed suicide. A film star. And then later on it was revealed that it was all because of nepotism. He was a good actor with a lot of talents, but he did not get opportunities. Because all the famous film stars, they were encouraging and promoting their own children, and they were using their influence to prevent others from not entering into this field. This was the final conclusion arrived by all the media people. This is called as nepotism. The film star wants his or her own son or daughter to come up and not others. In the same way, in the political field also, the political leader wants his own son to be the successor as a leader of the political party. That person may not have any talent or experience. There may be very many others who have experience, talent, etc., but they are not given chance. My own son, my own daughter should come and replace me. What is this? This is called as Abhishwangaha. And what happens when such people become the leaders of the nation, of an organization, etc.? There is only devastation and destruction. So therefore, the leaders, they have to be very careful about this one evil trait called Abhishwanga. Raja Harishchandra, even today we remember him. When he was working under that Chandala, he was in charge of that cremation ground. His own wife comes with his own dead child. The wife wanted to cremate the child. Raja Harishchandra said, no, first pay the fees. Because at present I am not your husband, I am a worker under that Chandala. Therefore it is my duty, so I am doing my duty. Now this is called as Anabhishwanga. That one Harishchandra created very many Harishchandras in the history. Mahatma Gandhi was inspired by this Harishchandra story. The first thing Mahatma Gandhi used to do was to go to the Harijans colony and clean their toilet. Because that was the time when untouchability was at its peak. Untouchables, the low caste people, Harijan people, there was a lot of problem. This caste system was a big problem in the Indian society. So Mahatma Gandhi wanted to erase it. So the one thing he did was early morning he would go to the Harijans colony, teach them hygiene and even clean their toilets also. He asked Kasturba Gandhi also to come. Now in those times, orthodox people were very difficult. Kasturba Ma said, no, I can't come. Because these untouchables, forget about touching, even looking at them, seeing them was considered to be inauspicious. Just imagine going to their colony and cleaning toilet. It was unthinkable for her. It was at that time that Mahatma Gandhi dragged her out, pushed her out of the gate of the house and said, if you cannot be with me in this crucial moment, then I don't want you as my wife. Get out of here. He became very strict. It was not that he did not love his wife, but when it came to compromising the higher values of life, he became very stern. He literally pushed her out of the gate, saying, I don't want such a wife who is disobedient to me. Now see, this is called as Anabhishwanga. No compromise with the higher values. It is this very same Gandhiji who took away all the ornaments. He said, for the freedom of the country we need funds, and for funds you will have to give all these ornaments. He took away the ornaments of Kasturba. See the heights of values that is followed. He did not even wear dress only because all his countrymen were poor. So he said, when all these people, they don't have proper dress to wear, how can I wear? So he lived throughout his life in kaupin, in langoti, in loincloth. We are indeed blessed that such a person is the father of our nation. We are indeed blessed to be born in such a nation. There is an incident in the life of Lal Bahadur Shastri also. When he was the Prime Minister, his son got a job in a very prestigious position, in a very prestigious company. Lal Bahadur Shastri called his son and said, "You must immediately resign the job, because I know you don't deserve that post. You got this job only because your father happened to be the Prime Minister of this country. So therefore, if I allow you to remain in that post, it will be equal to taking bribe for me. So therefore, you must immediately resign." And therefore, this Lal Bahadur Shastri, he made his son resign that job. You see, this is the example of Anabhishwanga, clear thinking. Our present Prime Minister Narendra Modi also, he has never allowed any of his relatives to come anywhere near him, asking for favors. He never misused his influence, his political power to grant favors for his relatives. I am told that his brother also, he is still even now an auto rickshaw driver only. Look at that. This is called as Anabhishwanga. It's not that they don't love their family members. No, they have love, but that love is not allowed to mess up with their clear thinking. They did not allow that love to become blind attachment. This is the difference. Never allowing the attachment to force them to compromise with the higher values of life. Asaktiranabhishwangaha putradara grihadishu. Now let us see how this Abhishwangaha destroys peace and harmony in the family. Abhishwanga means total attachment, intense attachment. How does Abhishwanga destroys peace and harmony in the family? So here is this father who is deeply attached to his son. Now, deep attachment means what? Total identification. Identification means what? Now the father doesn't consider son as a different entity. The father considers son as a part of his own entity. Now what is this father trying to do? The father tries to live his life through the son. So what does this father say? My dear son, I had this ambition of becoming a doctor, but because of family poverty, etc., I could not become a doctor. So therefore, I want you to fulfill my unfulfilled desire. So you should become a doctor. Now poor father, he forgets that son is a different entity. Son has got his own ambitions, his own desires to fulfill. This father is not able to understand. Now this father is trying to fulfill his ambition through his son. This is what Abhishwanga does, because there is total identification. Father thinks that son is a part of his entity. So this father wants his son to become a doctor, but what is the condition of the son? The son is not interested in medicine. He is interested in maybe the music or arts or sports or something. He is not interested in medicine. And now because of his father, he enters into some medical college, paying heavy fees, etc. And he has no interest in studies. He makes a mess of his life. And not only his life becomes a mess, the relationship between father and son also is messed up. It is strained. Now see this. The father is choking the life of his son. He is suffocating the life of his son through this attachment. Makes the life of his son miserable. This is what Abhishwanga does. Now let us say the son becomes of marriageable age. So what will this father do? My dear son, I want you to marry this particular girl in our community, of our caste, in our village. I want you to marry this girl. Now this boy, maybe he is working in some foreign country. He has fallen in love with some foreigner of different nationality, of different religion, and let us say this boy marries to that girl, that foreign girl. Then what does this father say? He boils in anger. How dare my son did this to me? Now how will I face my relatives? Because everywhere I had been against, intercaste marriage, etc. Now here is my own son marrying some other girl of some other country. How will I face my relatives? So therefore, this son of mine, I will not give even 1 paisa to him. I will not write anything in my will for him. Father becomes angry. Isn't it? Why this anger? It is because of this abhishwanga, intense attachment. Now let us say the son marries the same girl. Now will this old man keep quiet? No. Let us say the son is married to this particular girl and they have children and they are living with them. Now this old man has got his own ideologies about life, his own vision about life. Now he starts implementing those visions through his son. He keeps on advising his son. He never gives freedom to his son to live his family life. No. And not only that he will give advice, he will also ensure that his advice is implemented by his son. For that he will keep on poking his nose into the family affairs of his son and make their life miserable. So on one side this old man is making the life of son miserable. On the other side this old woman, the wife of this father, in short the mother of this son. Now, when she finds this, what you call daughter-in-law, now the daughter-in-law, mother-in-law fight starts. Why is this fight? This fight is also because of abhishwanga only. Mother feels that son is a part of her entity. The wife of the son feels the husband, the son, is a part of my entity. Both of them want this son to be a part of their entity, and therefore what happens? There is a fight between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. So what happens to the peace and harmony of the family? Gone. And finally a time comes when either the son sends his parents to some old age home, or the son along with his wife, they shift to some new house to have some peace in the family. This is how the nuclear families are generated. So who is the culprit? The culprit is abhishwanga, intense attachment. So we must get rid of this negative trait called abhishwanga, because it destroys, takes away the peace and harmony in the family. Naturally, a question comes, how to cultivate this anabhishwanga? How to prevent ourselves from falling into this blind attachment? So that solution is given in Bhagavad Gita itself, in the second chapter. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate sanga sanjayate kamaha. When you meditate on the sense objects, dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangaha upajayate. So that sanga there is sakti here, liking. That is sanga. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. So that kama there is abhishwanga here. So the very same liking which I have becomes intense craving, intense attachment. So how to stop this abhishwanga? Stop at the very sakti level itself. The very moment, the liking comes, beware. As they say, a stitch in time saves nine. It is the very same liking which degrades itself into this blind attachment. So therefore, as a liking comes, one has to be careful. Nip it in the bud. This is the solution. Right. So now moving on further. Asaktiranabhishvanga. So Abhishvanga is the 14th one. The next one. Nityam cha samachittatvam ishta anishta upapattishu. This is the next one. Samachittatvam. What is samachittatvam? Samachittatva means equanimity of mind. This is very much glorified in Bhagavad Gita. Samatvam yoga uchyate, Bhagavan says. Equanimity of mind itself is yoga. So nityam cha samachittatvam, keeping the mind peaceful and quiet when ishta anishta upapattishu, when ishta and anishta comes. Life is full of ishta and anishta. Favorable and unfavorable situations. Heat, cold, joy, sorrow, honor, dishonor, praise, insult, victory, defeat, gain, loss, birth, death. Life is full of this. So samachittatva means not allowing the mind to get affected by the ups and downs of life. Bhagavad Gita glorifies this virtue very much. In one place, in 5th chapter, Bhagavan says, Neyasya nitya sannyasi yonadveshti na kankshati nirdvando hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. Bhagavan says, know him to be the real sannyasi. Neyasya nitya sannyasi. Who? Yonadveshti na kankshati. One who is free from likes and dislikes. Nirdvandvaha, he is. A person who is nirdvandva, not affected by the dvandvas, by the pairs of opposite. Such a person, Bhagavan calls him a sannyasi. He is a true sannyasi. What is sannyas? Sannyas means renunciation. What is to be renounced? All the worries and anxieties, all the negative emotions. This is to be renounced. And Bhagavan goes on to say, nirdvando hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. Such a person can easily attain liberation, Bhagavan says. Very easily he becomes free from all kinds of bondages. So according to Bhagavad Gita, this is true sign of sannyas. The ability to keep the mind peaceful at all times, not getting affected. In fact, this is the test of our spiritual progress also. How do we know that I am spiritually progressing? Look at the state of your mind. How you were before practicing spirituality and now how you are. After 5 years, after 10 years of practicing spirituality in this path, after listening to so much of satsang, etc. Have you improved? How to know? Look at your irritation levels. How peaceful are you? If you can say that, yes, Swamiji, I have become a very peaceful person. Yes, now and then I get irritated, but I have improved a lot. If you can say this, then definitely there is spiritual progress. So this samachittatvam is a great virtue. Now how to attain this peace? There are so many techniques given by people. One technique is, always remember, even this will pass away. So whenever the mind is disturbed, understand this calamity, this tragedy, this problem, this challenge, someday or the other, it will go. Agamapaino anityaha tan titikshasva bharata, Bhagavan says. Agamaha apaina. It has come, a time will come, it will go. So therefore, what is to be done? They are anitya, understand it is impermanent. Titikshasva, silently, cheerfully go through it. This is one technique to keep the mind peaceful. The other is always remember that whatever comes, it is my own karma phala which is coming. I cannot blame anybody else. So stop grumbling this way. This is one more technique. Another technique which the modern people give is fix your mind in the present. Don't allow the mind to worry about the future. Don't allow the mind to go to the future or the past. Fix it in the present. This is another way to quieten the mind. But according to me, in my opinion, the best way to quieten the mind is hold on to God. Always know that whatever is happening in our life, it is for our own good. Bhagavan is our well-wisher, not just wish fulfiller. So whatever Bhagavan does is for our own good. If this one statement you can hold on, the mind will be peaceful. Very many times I don't know what is good for me. Bhagavan is omniscient, He knows everything. So Bhagavan, I surrender unto you. I don't know why this is happening. But I know one thing, that whatever you do, it will only be for my good. This philosophy, if you can hold on, you will be amazed that this Sharanagati makes your mind immediately quiet. A very efficient technique given by our Puranas, all the Mahatmas of the past, in all religion also, this is emphasized, surrender unto the Lord. Now, when is it that our mind gets disturbed? If you observe, you will find that to the extent you give importance to a particular situation, to that extent that situation is able to affect you. If you give a particular situation lot of importance, then the ups and downs in that situation can affect you very much. There is a relationship between your state of mind and the importance you give to a particular situation. If that is the case, what is the best way of having a quiet, peaceful mind? Never give importance to any situation in life. How is it possible? It is possible when you give maximum importance to God and minimum importance to the world. Let everything in this world be given minimum importance, and that is possible only when you give maximum importance to God. A story will make you clear. I am sure you all know this story. So one day Akbar came with a puzzle. He drew a line on the floor and said, "Make this line small without erasing it." So very many people tried and they could not. And finally Birbal came. What did he do? He drew a bigger line. He did not touch the first line. Without touching the first line, he drew a big line next to it. Now what has happened? The other line became small. Now this story has a deep spiritual significance. Suppose I ask you, elephant, is it big or small? Then you will say it is big. But then suppose you are sitting on a mountain and looking at the elephant, then that elephant is small. Now you say the mountain is big, but suppose you are in the International Space Station and looking at that mountain, then that mountain becomes small, isn't it? Earth becomes big. So compared to Earth, the mountain is nothing. But compared to the galaxy, this Earth is also nothing. So any big thing can be made small. How? Compared to a bigger thing, the big thing is small. If this is the philosophy, how to make even the most important situations seem significant? There should be something which you give more importance. Then everything else becomes less important. So in life, if we can give God the biggest importance, the greatest importance, then everything becomes small. This is a very, very practical technique. There's a beautiful quote which says, "Don't tell God how big your problem is. Tell the problem how big your God is." So if God is big in your life, all the problems become small. There is a joke. So here was this person who was always peaceful, cheerful. So people asked, "How is it that you are able to be so peaceful in spite of all difficulties, etc.?" So he said, "Whenever I am faced with problems, I take my wallet and I have the photo of my wife in that wallet. And when I see the photo of my wife, I say, if I can handle this lady, I can handle anything in this world. And this way I instill in myself courage and confidence, and thus I am strengthened." This is a joke, don't take it seriously. For spiritual people, it's not the wife. You have to fix the photo of God, saying that Bhagavan is with me, then why should I be scared? Why should I fear? All the sadhanas that we do, slowly what happens? Our relationship with God becomes stronger and stronger. We start feeling His presence with us. And when we feel His presence, every problem dwindles into nothing. That is why this famous verse in Mukundamala, Kulashekara Alva sings. What does he sing? Prithvi renuranuf payamsi kanika falgus fulingo laghu tejo nishwasanam maruttanutaram randhram susukshmam nabha क्षुद्रारुद्र पितामह प्रभृतयः कीटा समस्तासुराः दृष्टे यत्र सतावको विजयते भूमावधूतावधिः. So Kulashekara says, Bhagavan compared to your glory, Prithvi Renuranuhu, it is the whole earth is a mere speck of dust. Payamsi Kanika, the entire vast ocean, is a mere drop of water. Falgus Fulingo Laguhu Tejaha, the fire is a mere insignificant spark. Nishwasanam Maruttanutaram, the wind, the powerful wind, it's a mere outgoing breath. Randhram susukshmam nabaha, the whole space is a mere hole. Kshudra Rudra Pitamaha Prabhurtayaha, all these Brahma Vishnu Maheshwaras, these gods, they are insignificant. Kitas Samastasuraha, and all those gods, they are mere worms. So Bhagavan, compared to your glory, everything is insignificant. This is the way a devotee feels. Make everything insignificant through your love for God. Make God the most important thing, then everything becomes least important. And once that happens, all the ups and downs in life, ups and downs in the world, everything becomes insignificant and you retain your peace of mind. This is the technique. It's a very practical technique. That's why Gurudev says, there is nothing in this world which can deserve your tears. There is nothing. There is no need to cry in this world. This world doesn't deserve our tears, Puja Gurudev says. But all this is possible only when we have Bhagavan with us. And that is why the next verse, you will find the next verse is about bhakti only. Let's chant that verse, verse number 10. Mai chananya yogena bhaktiravvyabhicharini vivikta desha sevitvam Aratirjana samsadi. So this is the 16th one. Maicha ananya yogena bhakti avyabhicharini. So this is the 16th one. So what kind of devotion? Bhakti, avyabhicharini bhakti. Non-wavering devotion. How to develop that non-wavering devotion? Ananya yogena. With ananya yoga, you can develop that. With that single pointed yoga. With no yoga with no otherness. So when you are able to love God and God alone, then you develop unwavering devotion for God. Wavering happens when you love something else also. When you love God along with the world, then the mind wavers from God to world, from world to God. That wavering happens because somewhere we love world also. So what has to be done? Ananya yoga has to be practiced. Loving only God. If that is possible, then that devotion becomes unwavering, single pointed. Maichananya yogena bhakti avyabhicharini. This is the 16th one. Then the 17th one is vivikta desha sevitvam. Resorting to vivikta desha, lonely place. Vivikta desha sevitvam, and then aratir jana samsadi. This is the 18th one. Not reveling in the company of worldly people. That's the 18th one. So 16 is bhakti, 17 is solitude, 18 is company, giving up the company of the worldly people. So now we discuss the 17th one. 17th one is bhakti. Srimad Bhagavatam says that bhakti is the mother. And who are her children? Jnana and Vairagya, they are the children of Bhakti Mata. And Mukti or Moksha is Bhakti Mata's Dasi. It's a very interesting comparison. So who is the mother? Bhakti is the mother. Why Bhakti is called mother? Mother comes first, children come next, isn't it? In the same way, if a person can cultivate bhakti for Lord, all these 19 virtues, whichever we have discussed, it will come automatically. That's the glory of bhakti. You don't have to pay attention to any other virtue, you just pay attention to one virtue. That is cultivating devotion for God. If you can do it, slowly you will find all the virtues have come to you. It's amazing. That is why all the saints and the sages of the past, in all religion, they emphasize only one thing: cultivate devotion for God. Quran you take, it is only bhakti about Lord. Bible you take, it is only bhakti about Lord. Guru Granth Sahib you take, it is only bhakti about Lord. In all the other religions, the emphasis is given only to bhakti. Mainly to bhakti. In our Hindu religion also, so many texts are written only for bhakti. Srimad Bhagavatam is written only for that. Develop bhakti for God and everything else will fall in place. Very interesting. If you develop bhakti, in Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Jnana and Vairagya, they are children, sons of bhakti. Meaning what? Vairagya will come automatically. Jnana will come automatically. And this is what Bhagavad Gita also says. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam. Bhagavad Gita says. Bhagavan says, those people who worship me with love, I give them buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga means what? Jnana. Yena mam upayanti te, by which they come to me. I give them self-knowledge, and through self-knowledge they attain to me, Bhagavan says. In Bhagavatam it is said, moksha is the dasi of bhakti. Dasi means what? Servant maid. So wherever the master is, servant has to come. You don't have to call, isn't it? In the same way, person who has bhakti, for them mukti is given free. This is how they say. So what kind of bhakti we have to develop? Avyabhicharini bhakti we have to develop. Non-wavering devotion. How to develop that devotion? That is a big topic. We will see tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day, and whatever contribution you give as Guru Dakshina will be used to fulfill the mission of Chinmaya Mission, which is spreading the knowledge of the scriptures. Right. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Nanda Mukunda Hare Gopala, Nanda Mukunda Hare Gopala, Bhakta Samrakshaka Venu Gopala, Nanda Mukunda Hare Gopala. Nandananda Mukunda Gopala, Nandananda Mukunda Gopala, Gopi Jana Priya Goparipala, Gopi Jana Priya Goparipala, Nanda Mukunda Hare Gopala. Bhakta Samrakshaka Venu Gopala, Nanda Mukunda Hare Gopala. Vrindavana Hare Nanda Kumara, Vrindavana Hare Nanda Kumara, Nigamodhara Navanita Chora, Nigamodhara Navanita Chora, Nanda Mukunda Hare Gopala. Bhakta Samrakshaka Venu Gopala, Nanda Mukunda Hare Gopala. Gopala, Gopala. यशोदा के प्यारे, नंद के दुलारे, यशोदा के प्यारे, गोविंद मुरारे, गोविंद मुरारे दीनों के सहारे, गोविंद मुरारे दीनों के सहारे, नंद के दुलारे यशोदा के प्यारे। सागर गिरिधर नागर, करुणा सागर, करुणा सागर गिरिधर नागर, मुरली मनोहर पाहि मुरारे, मुरली मनोहर पाहि मुरारे, नंद के दुलारे यशोदा के प्यारे, नंद के दुलारे यशोदा के प्यारे, गोविंद मुरारे दीनों के सहारे, गोविंद मुरारे दीनों के सहारे, नंद के दुलारे यशोदा के प्यारे, नंद के दुलारे यशोदा के प्यारे।